All right. Samir, India's position on Ukraine has caused a lot of disappointment in Europe and the United States and Asia. India did abstain from the UN vote on condemning Russia's aggression. Obviously, you have a deep historical relationship with Russia. But is your attitude to Russia changing as this war progresses, as you see the atrocities, for example, that Corey mentioned, and also as you see the weakness of the Russian effort? Is that changing the calculation in New Delhi about the value of the relationship with Russia?
So, Michael, that's a question with many parts and many subtexts. But let me try and piece it into three parts. The first is our relationship with Russia changing? Our relationship with Russia was changing before the Ukraine conflict. In fact, it would be fair to say that over the last 10 years, both of us have been working very hard to find something that would fire up the partnership again. So in many ways, besides the military partnership, and especially the partnership that dealt with some of the crown jewels that Russia gave to us, the nuclear submarines, the S-400s, the hypersonic missile systems, which no one else was willing to put on the table. Besides those elements of the partnership, we were struggling to find any other avenue for significant engagement. Energy was marginal because of the distance and geography, and some legacy businesses and legacy linkages continue to keep us closer. Russia was, by its inability to grow as an economy, by its inability to become an international actor, was limiting its nature of relationship with India through its own decisions. It wasn't that India was deciding that I'm changing, I've decided against Russia. Russia was just absent from our future, and it will continue to remain less significant as in the days ahead. So our relationship was changing even prior to Ukraine. But this does not mean that we don't have significant historical IOUs and obligations to each other. And Russia has been, USSR and thereafter Russia, has been a big support to India in the international system when everyone else wanted to sanction us or wanted to do things to us that we did not like. And for that purpose, there is that old historic partnership that continues to remain in the minds of many. And I always tell folks that the best way to assess this is by looking at that one development. In 2004, when India abstained from voting on the US invasion of Iraq, there was a furor in the Indian parliament. And the Indian Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister were castigated, and eventually they had to come out with a strong statement condemning American invasion, and they had to change their mind. This time around, when India abstained, there was no debate in the parliament. And this is an Indian parliament that can't agree on drinking water. We don't agree on anything, but we agreed on abstaining. And that tells you that there is a historical sense of that there is a friendship that needs to be respected. Now, I think that is a bit romanticized. And maybe this particular moment could be the time when we have cleared our obligations, and maybe it's a reset for the future. That's one part of the relationship. The second part is that, we have, if you look at our statement alongside our vote, we have shown you the duality of India again. That statement is a condemnation of Russia, but the vote is an abstention. And each time that has happened, if you read the text alongside the vote, you see the mood versus you see the act. The act is of history, and the mood is of your current assessment of Russian action. And I think that must be understood. You are not going to vote against America irrespective of the irrationality of America. You will either decide not to attend the UN that day or abstain from voting. The same reason, you have to understand the same pressures work on us. When we are asked to speak about it, we are quite harsh with our assessment of what Russia is doing. In fact, even at the BRICS meeting, our foreign minister has recently said that 2 countries out of the BRICS have violated the foundational principles of BRICS, which is respecting sovereignty and territorial integrity. So even in an internal BRICS meeting, this was mentioned.
But it's not just the statements, is it? I mean, you're still importing Russian oil, as far as I know. Your central banks are working on a payment system to assist the Russians.
Yeah. So
my question though is the conduct of the war. Do you think both the atrocities, but also the ineffectiveness of the Russian military, do you think that will change the relationship in the future?
So, I think all military planners around the world who have relied on certain kind of weaponry post the Azerbaijan conflict and now Ukraine would have to go back to the drawing boards and see what works and what doesn't work in modern conflict. And it would be fair to say that many folks would be assessing the usefulness of some of the investments they've made in equipments coming from Russia. It does not necessarily mean that all of them have not done well, or whether the problem was with the equipments or with the planning, because you also see the other side use similar equipments and do a better job. So it's not as if the problem is in the trucks and the tanks and in the artillery. It's more about the thought process that went behind it. So I'm not sure you can discard the industry for poor implementation. But having said that, like I mentioned, our economic size is taking us to a place where when we are $5 or $6 trillion and we have to buy $12 to $15 billion of international defense equipment every year, Russia is not going to be able to contribute even a fraction of it. It has counted itself out of our future. We have already seen our Air Force and Navy diversify away and move into European and American platforms. The army has been slower because our army is a live army, active army. We fight, right? We have a border with the Chinese, we have a border with Pakistan. It's impossible for India to do a major rejig vis-a-vis its the land army is concerned, because we are in an active situation. So you are going to see increasingly a diversification away and into different geographies for our defense needs. But I must respond to the rather false canard that is being spread on India-Russia trade and India-Russia energy purchases. Look here, our energy purchases are marginal. Marginal into 4 is still marginal. We are not going to see Russia becoming a major supplier of Indian energy needs at the end of this year. So let's be very clear. It is going to remain insignificant compared to the 53 billion euros that the European Union has already paid to Russia by way of its fossil fuel transactions. We are a very small, negligible actor. So please focus on what Europe buys from Russia, not what India buys from Russia. We are not in the same frame.
The second part. We can focus on what everybody buys.
The second part. We will buy from Russia. The same reason Europe is buying from Russia. We all have to look after our own needs. Our own immediate needs have to be catered to. Governments are meant to do that. We were primarily procuring our energy from the Middle East. Now, most of you guys have suddenly decided Middle East is your source. You've come into my reservoir of energy. You've started to pick out from that reservoir. You have crowded out India from the options of Iran and Venezuela. And now you want to continue to have a favorable energy partnership with Russia while denying anyone else any other the same privilege and dipping into my reservoir. It doesn't work like that. I need energy. And I'm going to get it. And I'm going to get energy at the right prices. So we are going to see the same transactionalism happen in India that Europe is engaged with or America is engaged with. We are going to look after the interests of our people without having to compromise on what we believe in our principles. Those two are not related. And the India-Russia ruble-rupee trade is not, it predates Ukraine by many decades. So it's not a new system. It has been activated because you have prevented us from using the SWIFT system. It doesn't mean that it did not exist before that.